Welcome, my Be Health Empowered family, back to another episode of Excuse Me, Doctor. My name is Dr. Melissa Clark. Please call me Dr. Mel. Thank you so much for joining us so that we can do what we do every week with you all, the Be Health Empowered family, which is to make sure that you have the information that you need to make wise health decisions, not just for yourself, but also for your family, your loved ones, and even for your community. If you are joining us for the first time and you're new to the Be Health Empowered family, please go ahead and hit that like button if you're checking us out on Facebook. And if you're checking us out on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. And, for those of you who know the routine, you know that I have to bring in my incredible co-host for whom I am so grateful. As the music was introing to come in, I just had this wave of gratitude for you, the Be Health Empowered family, and for them for joining us each and every week. So Wayne and Lila, what y'all up to? Where you at?
Oh, Mel, that was so nice. I'm grateful for you too.
This is a wave. It's a wave.
Yes, it's a wave. It's a wave of gratitude.
I thought I was in a stadium or something, man.
Well,
we got a wave of gratitude.
There you go. Nice. There you go. So, how y'all doing?
Great.
Good.
Great. It's been a week. It's been a week.
It's just
Monday.
It's Monday.
Right.
It's Monday.
It's been a week already. It's Monday.
But I hope everybody had a fantastic Mother's Day yesterday. Happy Mother's Day to everybody listening. And I always say to all who mother. And it doesn't mean that have kids. Everybody has that mothering principle. They mother something in their life or someone in their life. So happy Mother's Day to you.
Indeed.
Yes. Indeed. All the mothers.
Indeed.
I'm waiting for June, y'all. When June comes.
For all the fathers.
It's Father's Day. But shout out to all the mothers that currently mother and all the mothers that have mothered and have gone on. So we shout out everybody.
I have a number of friends for whom this is their first Mother's Day without their mother. So I know that it's particularly tough. So we send love and strength and comfort out to everybody who's going through that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Same. So what we got today, folks? What we got?
You tell us what we're talking about.
We're talking about yoga. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about yoga, not yogurt, by the way.
Thank you for the clarification. Yes.
I mean, my knowledge of yoga is stretches or those IG posts where people are standing on their head and got the fourth chakra out and they got the cobra pose and the downward dogs. And I mean, I don't know much else about it.
Okay, a couple of poses.
Yeah, I know, right?
Downward dog. Everybody.
All right.
Everybody.
Come on with the poses. So
I mean, I'm doing them here. You can't see me. I'm cut off. I'm doing it.
You're right. We'll take your word for it.
Right.
What's that pose right there? Where you lay
chin up. It's called chin up
pose. That's supposed to get rid of your triple chin. I only have two chins now.
Okay. But he's here all week, folks. So what is yoga? It's an ancient practice that is actually really relevant right now. And it can help us navigate this economic, social, and political craziness that's going on. I used to think yoga wasn't for me until I realized it's a tool for survival and peace. And our guests actually helped me with that.
Well, I am glad that is the case because we need that, especially right now, just like you said. And I often talk about how, mismanagement of the stress in our lives is a big contributor to illness and chronic disease. We're going to have an amazing guest coming up who's going to help us unpack how and why yoga can be used as a really powerful tool to help us reclaim our health and stay healthy.
Well, now I even heard some people talking about yoga that they can't do yoga because it's not Christian, and we're going to get into that, right? We're going to get.
We are.
Yeah,
We are. I think
please.
that's actually a really important theme for our community. That was actually one of the reasons why I was so adverse to it at first. But I've heard that, from a lot of people. And listen, you don't have to be flexible, vegan, or have a fancy mat. I have a fancy mat now, but you don't have to have that to get anything out of this episode. Just bring your open mind, your questions, and make sure to share this right now so everyone you know, because we're about to get into it.
We're about
Right.
to get
Share, share,
into it.
share.
But before we do, we got the week that was in
All
health and
right.
wellness.
The weekly recap.
So Dr. Mel, man, I've actually been reading a lot. So that's a change. Instead of, scrolling on our phone, I've been reading a lot.
All right
But I
now.
actually saw this scrolling on our phone, so I want to know if it's true. There's a new study saw that microplastics can contribute to death from heart disease. Come on, man.
Yeah, so there is a new study that was recently published, and let's just first set the table with what microplastics are. They're chemicals, or
Hmm.
they're plastics that have chemicals, and the chemicals are called phthalates. And they're generally put in plastics to make them flexible. And then these plastics are in, food storage containers, clothes, makeup, perfume, children's toys. And what happens is when we are exposed to them, they enter into our body and they can contribute to inflammation, the bad kind of inflammation. And specifically, when it comes to heart disease, it's inflaming our arteries, the arteries that lead to our heart, causing them to get blocked off. And then the next thing is you can have a heart attack if your arteries are blocked off. So, this is thought to contribute to 10% of heart disease worldwide among men and women aged 55 to 64. And so that statistic was from 2018. So, it's probable that it's getting worse because we haven't really done anything to decrease microplastic exposure in our environment.
So like it sounds like they're everywhere, even in our water supply. I've started to
Yeah.
not use plastic water bottles and starting to store my food in glass containers. But is that enough?
It's a great start, but there are other things you can do, like filtering your water. You mentioned it's in the water supply. You can replace your plastic chopping boards for wood chopping boards. That's one way to do it. Avoid Teflon pans because there are a lot of phthalates in Teflon pans, and as you use them, they get scratched up. It starts to peel off. So yeah, you want to stay away from that. Um, Use fresh produce rather
Mhm.
than packaged produce and packaged foods. And then really be empowered when it comes to choosing products that don't contain harmful chemicals. And there's a wonderful resource for being able to do that. It's a organization, nonprofit called the Environmental Working Group. All they do is review products and do research to help people make informed decisions about um, avoiding these kinds of harmful chemicals. And their website is www.ewg.org.
I
They're
think we
friends
have
of
it
the
up.
show. Yeah, there you go. Check it out. We have it up on the screen. So we've had them on the show before. They're friends of the show. Extremely informative organization.
Wow.
Cool.
It just seems like it's always something like s- heart disease from plastic water bottles and now I golf. You see I have on my golf hat.
We
Just
see
came
you.
off.
We see you styling and profiling with the golf hat. That's a cute
That
one.
does say Hilton on the side there. I was out golfing. Brothers golf now. But
Okay.
I was back on my reading grind, and it seems like it's always something. I read that because I was investigating moving to a golf course, but I read
Oh,
that,
okay.
yeah, I'm just saying, hopefully, I'm gonna tell my wife here, she'll find out here that I'm gonna
Okay.
investigate moving to a golf course. And now I found out living near a golf course might increase your risk of Parkinson's disease. Is that true?
Wow.
Well, there was a recent study published. There's a study for that published in JAMA Network Open. And it found that individuals that live within a mile of a golf course had 126% higher risk of developing Parkinson's disease
That is,
compared to those that live farther away. That's pretty telling.
That's a
yeah.
lot. Do they know what's causing it?
Well, the researchers in the study suggest that it's exposure to insect and weed killers, those chemicals that are
Mm.
used, basically just about on every golf course and in large amounts to make it, attractive for people to play there.
So it's not just living near the golf course, but possibly the chemicals like the pesticides and herbicides used there. So look,
Right.
so look, I got to tell this story. I was playing at a golf course in Georgia. I'm just gonna say what state. I'm not gonna say what city. And I hit up on the green because I'm good, right? And I was about to putt, and I went to place the ball, and the ball actually had turned the color of green that the green was. Like,
Wow.
and I
Wow.
absolutely didn't want to touch it. Changed my glove
Ooh.
afterwards because I figured it was some kind of chemical or spray they were
Mhm.
using or paint. But
Wow.
Mhm.
terrible. I mean, what
Yeah.
about us
Yeah.
good golfers who were putting?
Well, I mean, I think that's an excellent point just to speak to how much chemical that some places actually use.
Yeah.
The study also noted that areas that share drinking water supplies with the water that's used at the golf course, those areas showed higher incidence of people with Parkinson's disease, indicating that water contamination might be the way that people are getting exposed to these chemicals.
So that's concerning. Should people living near a golf course be worried? Like just the people who don't live on the golf course but live near within
Yeah.
that mile, they should be worried
Mhm.
Yeah.
also.
So we've talked before about studies that show association, but it doesn't necessarily mean causation, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Maybe there's some other factor that's going on at these golf courses that we don't really realize.
Mm-hmm.
But it
Mm.
is a reminder of the potential health impacts of environmental exposures of any kind. So if you're living near those, golf courses, it might be wise to stay informed, take precautions like using water filters and really advocating for safer landscaping practices.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
All right. Finally, why you should not eat at everyone's house. The chicken edition. All right. So listen. uh the community, the black people, we don't typically eat at everyone's house anyway, just as a rule. You
just not
know,
delicious.
just as a rule. Like we don't eat at everyone's house. We don't always eat at the potluck in the office. But now there's a whole new reason not to do that because the USDA is reneging on limiting bacteria in chicken. What do we need to
Yeah.
know about that, Dr. Mel?
Yeah. So the USDA recently withdrew a proposal that was put forth by the previous administration that would limit how much salmonella
Mm.
is allowed in raw poultry. So that salmonella is a kind of bacteria that causes stomach upset, diarrhea, and can even be deadly. It
Yeah.
was supposed to help reduce foodborne illness like that, but now that plan is off the table. Salmonella, we know, causes over 1 million illnesses every year in the United States, and
Wow.
poultry is the major source of that. So, without stricter federal regulation, it's really going to be up to us to sort of police, and reduce the risk to ourselves and our families.
Okay, so hit us with the safety tips. What should we be doing?
So this is it. So um I know a lot of people may already do these things, but it's important to note. Number one, cook poultry all the way through. Don't just rely on the color change because it can
Mhm.
look done and still be undercooked. You want to confirm it with a meat thermometer that it's 165 degrees um, or more.
Yeah.
The other thing is there are these frozen breaded chicken products,
Yeah.
like chicken Kiev or something like that. So again, those can look done on the outside, but not be done on the inside. So again, use your meat thermometer. And then prevent cross contamination. You want to keep raw poultry away from your fruits, your veggies,
Mhm.
other ready to eat foods. You want to separate cutting boards and really make sure that you're washing and disinfecting all your surfaces as well as your hands thoroughly if you've been handling poultry. And then finally, back to that water filter, another reason to invest, especially if you live near an agricultural area. There's certain certified water filters that you can use that help reduce exposure to bacteria and chemicals in your drinking water that might be a runoff from the poultry farm. So that's not going to apply to a whole lot of people, but for those of you that do, take note.
All right. So bottom line is cooking chicken right is best practice. Listen, I see TikToks where people are actually using soap.
Oh, hell no.
Makes me want to use a little soap on my chicken sometimes. What was that?
Oh, hell no, Karen. Keep your brand ass potato salad to yourself.
Right.
Thank you.
Be careful at the barbecues and the picnics.
That's the bottom line.
I mean,
exactly.
that was Chadwick Boseman from Saturday Night Live. It's one of my favorite lines.
Oh, hell no, Karen. Keep your brand ass potato salad to yourself.
Well, in this case, it's keep your contaminated chicken to yourself.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
All right, Dr. Mel.
Yeah.
Oh, we forgot something.
Yeah, no, we didn't forget anything. Let's keep talking about this.
What y'all think?
We gonna keep talking about this, or we gonna
it's our what y'all think. It's our what y'all think.
Yeah. What y'all think? Take it away, Lila.
Okay, so based on this, what y'all think about your eating that chicken sandwich or smothered turkey wings, since they may be contaminated, are you pulling back on eating chicken, going vegan, or doubling down on your precautions? That's the question for all of you out there.
Well, I'm going to tell you straight off. I'm going to tell you straight off. Marcia Evans said, y'all know y'all grandmama told y'all not to eat at everyone's house.
Facts. Facts. I'm telling you, listen, I'm not backing off, but my chicken might get a little soap and water on it. In addition to just regular wash, you might get a little soap and water.
Don't put it near the sink, though. Because they said you can splash stuff everywhere. Don't put it.
Right.
I mean,
they say
put that joint in a bucket outside.
Yeah.
Dunk it a few times.
There you go. You don't want to splash water all over your kitchen, and then you got salmonella everywhere.
You got what, Dr. Mel?
Salmonella. See, I knew you were going to pull me up on that.
I'm just checking.
On that note, we're going to see both of y'all a little bit later. Because we are going to move into our main discussion for tonight. And that's yoga. I often discuss the 5 self-health actions: nutrition, hydration, sleep, movement, and managing stress. Because, and I often say that last one is the most important, because how we manage our stressors are arguably the most important factor in how and when diseases show up in our life. Stress is often directly linked to high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease. And we know that they show up disproportionately in Black and brown people. So we're talking about yoga today. Why it's not just another form of exercise, but potentially a powerful way to reclaim your health. And to do that, we have an incredible guest. Her name is Salena Collins. She's not only a dynamic yoga practitioner who opened Inglewood, California's first yoga studio, she's also a wellness expert, an educator, an advocate who's making space for healing on and off the mat. She's an employee wellness expert for LA County Schools, or LA County Office of Education, and she developed wellness initiatives for educators and staff in that role. And she's also a lecturer at the University of Southern California in their Mind Body Health Department. Welcome, Salena. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Mel. Super excited to be here. And I am impressed with how much you guys know about yoga. I heard all of the poses mentioned earlier. It just lets me know that the beauty and the power of yoga is definitely spreading. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My co-host Wayne Bruce is up on it. So let's start off though with basic definitions for everybody. What is yoga? And what does it mean? What does the word mean? And what is it exactly?
That is a great question. So, yoga itself, the term is derived from the Sanskrit term yuj, which is spelled Y-U-J. And huge itself can literally be defined as either a unity, a joining, or union of the components of our being, because we are multifaceted beings, right? We've got the physical part of our being, we've got the spiritual part, we've got the mind, we've even got a portion of ourselves that is associated with our intuition. And so with huge or with yoga, there are various practices that we can develop that could bring all of those parts of our being into balance or into harmony for the evolvement or improvement of ourselves. So great question.
Great to know, because it kind of leads me to the next question, which is we kind of teased it when I was talking to Lila, and she mentioned that, she had at first been under the impression that yoga didn't really align with Christianity. Um, why do you think there's that misconception? And what would you say to people that might have that concern?
I think that misconception comes from the roots that yoga is associated with Indian philosophy, when all actuality, and I'll speak as a Christian myself, sang in the church choir, was on the usher board. So just in full transparency with that. However, once we understand what yoga means, how we just defined it, and how in essence yoga is about self-awareness, when we can cultivate the practice to fit into our lifestyle, it can actually be of great support to spirituality and to our religion. So I think because naturally of its roots in Indian philosophy, that there is a misconception that it's right away associated with a different religion outside of Christianity, which is actually not true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. No, that makes sense. So, you mentioned your Christian background, and we heard a little bit about, all the things you're involved in. Tell us about your journey to yoga. What attracted you to yoga, and to eventually open up that yoga studio that I mentioned in the heart of a Black community, Inglewood, California?
I would love to. I would love to. So, being raised in a Black community in South LA, my twin brother and I actually were bused to high school about an hour out away from where we live, in what would be considered more of an affluent community known as the Pacific Palisades. And during that time, high school years, I had a wonderful experience. Senior year came around, finished majority of my classes, and I would have to wait for the school bus to take my brother and I back home. So I had a lot of in-between time as far as getting out of school early and waiting for the school bus. And the story is so much in alignment now that I think back on it, how everything just kind of panned out. But I would walk around in the neighborhood of the Pacific Palisades, and I remember walking past this location, and it just smelled amazing. Now I know that smell to be of essential oils and lavender and lemongrass, but it really drew me in. Backpack on, senior, I'm like, what is this place? It smells so good. Go in, a Black woman actually at the desk, which was really welcoming and reassuring to me, as a Black kid in this neighborhood. And she said the first yoga class is free. I had never heard of yoga, didn't know anyone that practiced it. I'm like, okay, it's just solely physical. Oh, I could do this. Stuff my backpack in the cubby, take the class, and Dr.Mel. At the end of most practices, you lie down in a pose known as Shavasana, where eyes are closed, you're completely still. And I do not recall a time that I had ever felt so at home in my own body.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing.
Tears
That is
came to
amazing.
And here I am, 17 years old. I didn't want to embarrass myself, but I remember getting up, and my teacher, my first yoga teacher, he comes over to me after the practice, and he asked me, at 17, have you ever thought about being a yoga teacher? Little did he know, I've never practiced before, never thought about it. After that, so many doors opened that just led me to doing what I do now and what I love so much.
Wow, that does sound like much more than coincidence, right? Um, so, and I know people know the Pacific Palisades because that's where a lot of the fires were recently. So we probably have a visual of a very swanky neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
Um, Now, moving forward, to your decision to establish the yoga studio in Inglewood, we know that Black and Brown communities face higher rates of high blood pressure, diabetes, other stress related illnesses. How can yoga be a tool for healing and prevention in our health journeys?
That's a really good question. I think that let's go back even before we use yoga as a tool for prevention. It can actually be used as intervention as well, right?
Okay.
So
Hmm.
if we understand or take the time to implement certain practices like breath work or like the asanas or yoga poses into our day-to-day lives, then we could become more aware of our physical body and when we're out of alignment or when we do feel certain stressors rising or we feel our blood pressure is getting high, we could be more readily available and consciously act on bringing ourselves back into balance or back into equanimity. So it just brings more of a self-awareness to our physiology, to our mental state, to our thoughts. And we could use that not so much as a place of judgment, but more so as like a compass or a guide. If we continuously just kind of go through our days without slowing down and addressing how we're actually feeling, then things ultimately can get out of hand or out of control, right? And then we'll
Hmm.
be likely operating from a state of chronic stress. So before we get to that point, yoga, meditation, mindfulness affords us and offers us that opportunity to just really dive in and say, hey, how do I feel? How am I when I'm
Right.
by myself or when I'm alone? You know,
Right.
if we don't take that time, then our days just feed right into each other. And before you know it, we'll have a stress related disease. And we don't
Yeah,
want to get to.
no, I think that's exactly right. I often talk about it in terms of like a gas gauge on our car if we're going on a trip. If you don't look at the gas gauge, you're going to run out of gas. And it's going to seem like it happened all of a sudden. But if you were checking your gas gauge along the way, you would know when something catastrophic was about to happen. And you could do something like stop at a gas station, top off, so that you don't run out of gas. And it sounds like that's exactly what you're saying. Yoga can help you do by doing the breath work, by doing the poses. It can help you check in with yourself to sort of see where you are with your stress meter. So that's great to know. Um, some people also think of yoga strictly as a form of exercise. Can yoga be as effective as sort of traditional forms of exercise like cardio or strength training when it comes to, your heart health and the reasons that people work out?
Absolutely. This is one of my favorite subjects to discuss because I come across so many students or so many people. And sometimes people's first reaction is, I don't know about yoga, or I don't like it. And whether that is for religious purposes or whether it's just for physical purposes. But the beauty about the practice is that there are so many styles of yoga. And again, it goes back to the term and what it means to yoke, unite, or join, or find equanimity. We could do that through styles of yoga known as restorative yoga, where it's a little bit more calm, relaxing, and you actually don't stand up at all. Full transparency, that's one of my favorite practices right now as a mom of three.
Mhm.
I go to a restorative practice for my personal reasons, you know? But then
Sure.
we've got other extreme where it's a little bit more of a high intensity and you can feel a workout, such as hot yoga, where someone,
Mm.
let's just take an example weight of 150 to 170 pounds. If you do a 90-minute hot yoga, you're more than likely able to burn approximately 400 calories. Okay.
Wow.
Yes, and that's for a hot yoga class. And then we've got a
Mhm.
vinyasa style where each of the asanas or poses are linked or synchronized to the movement of the breath. That's another way to build heat and reduce some calories. And then another one of my favorites, we could take it back to the other extreme of a style of yoga known as yoga nidra, where you just lie down the whole time. And it's a beautiful meditative practice. So it's so many styles to choose from to find that balance.
Mhm.
So it's like once you're aware of the different styles, you almost can't say no, because you just find what fits for you and
It's
what works
something
for
for
you.
everybody.
It's something for everybody.
Yeah. No, that's great because a lot of people just hear yoga and think it's one thing, right? Like it's just poses. So that's good to know that there's that whole breadth of everything from laying still to all the way through the hot yoga burning 400 calories in one sitting, that you can choose from. So that's pretty great. Um, so so that's really about the physical, right, aspects of yoga. Mental health. Mental
Mhm.
health is a huge issue now. We talked about, all the craziness going on in the world and sort of the need for people to find a center and be rooted and grounded. And while all this stuff is going on out here, how do you see yoga potentially opening up space for sort of being grounded, um, not being swayed by everything that's happening, or even having just emotional healing in your life?
Great question. So, yoga is very supportive of mental health. As a matter of fact, I would actually say that it is the primary main benefit. So, we get the physical
Mhm.
benefits, we get the elasticity, we can even get that bounce back and recovery, we could build muscle, right? One of the most famously referenced books for yoga, known as the Yoga Sutras, written by Patanjali, at the start of the book, he mentions that yoga ultimately is so that we could sit comfortably in our bodies and be aware of our thoughts and what we're actually meditating on. So it's not just for the physical, right? It supports the mental body also by addressing or helping us regulate our nervous system. So, our nervous system is a direct correlation to our thoughts, our emotions, and how we're feeling. And when we do take that time to slow down or to pull back, we get to activate that rest and digest response so that we can be more clear and more aware of our thoughts, our judgments, and our biases that we're making that are not really as supportive to us. Then we can open the opportunity to replacing some of those thoughts for our mental health, incorporating or including affirmations that will support us in the long run. But it first starts by pulling back and recognizing what we're thinking in our mind, understanding that we're not our thoughts, right? We're not our thoughts, but what is going on right now that's affecting my emotions, that actually is affecting my behavior, which ultimately is affecting the trajectory and the road of my life and the direction it's going in. Another fact that I love to share, and I'm sure you're aware of this, Dr. Mel, we have approximately 60,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day.
Wow. Yeah.
Yes, quite a bit,
I've
right?
seen that figure,
So,
yes, and I believe it. I know my mind is constantly going, what they call monkey
absolutely.
mind. Right.
We call it monkey mind in the practice. So, what happens if we don't start to implement new thoughts, or what's known as the Sanskrit term samaskaras, or mental impressions or grooves? By the time we get to be 35 and older, 95% of our activity and our thoughts are repetitive.
Mm. So
So,
you're
how
just
much of
kinda
those
caught
thoughts
in a cycle where you're just
it's
doing the
called
same thing over
ruminating
and over.
or rumination of thoughts. And then you see
Mhm.
people that's like, well, why do they keep doing that? They know that's bad. Or why are they caught in this habit? That's not good for them. They should know better. When all actuality, we have wired our thoughts in our brain to run in a fixed or a certain pattern. So,
Right.
meditation, yoga, it allows us that practice, what is known as pratyahara, which means to withdraw from the senses, withdraw from the rumination of the thoughts, become aware of them, observe them, and replace them.
Right. And I often, from a Christian tradition, I often talk about like a two-way conversation. Like prayer is you're talking to the divine or to God or to Jesus. Meditation is listening, right? You got to have a two-way conversation. And that allows you to be centered and to do that and to accomplish all those other things. Get out of your ruts, get off out of your thoughts, get out of your anxiousness and always trying to do something for those people that are the busy bees and all and always doing things. So that's all really fascinating. Now, we talked about the sort of objection that people have from a religious standpoint or concerns that people have from a religious standpoint. What about from a just a cultural standpoint? People thinking, well, that's not really, that's not for me. Or maybe another objection might be, I'm overweight, I can't get into all those different kinds of poses I see them doing. Those kinds of objections, what would you say to somebody who's concerned about um, their body movement, and their body fluidity not being able to do the yoga poses?
I love that. I would just honestly reference back to the fact that there are so many different styles. There's so many different styles. There's something for everybody. Um, and I would just start there. And I would encourage, as someone that does feel that way, to develop, or we can always come up with a plan that works for you. Some people might look at me and assume that because I can maybe touch my toes or sit with my legs crossed comfortably, that I always go for that style. And I don't. I actually go for the one where I'm just laying down, or I go for the more of a restorative practice that requires less movement. It really depends on what you need and when you need it. Yoga, meditation, and mindfulness is completely an individualized practice. So what works for you works for you. There is also a really beautiful study that's rooted in the science of Ayurveda, where you can actually identify what would be called your dosha type, or your individual constitution. And everyone has a different type, and they come in three. So that's either kapha, pitta, or vata. Determining your dosha type is also really beneficial to helping you to develop a plan that is specifically geared to you. And that includes the practice of not just the yoga poses, but could even go as far as into diet and specific breath work or breathing exercises that works specifically, again, just for you and what you need as an individual.
How would somebody go about figuring that out, your dosha type?
That's a good question. So there's lots, you could go online and literally type it in and look it up, and you'll answer certain questions. And here is a really quick indication of how you might start to think, oh, I might be this one. Each dosha type is actually associated with a season. So for example, I'll just do Vata. For example, Vata dosha is associated with the elements of air, space, and ether. So when we think of those elements, we think of the components of light, airy, dry, rough, which is associated with the season of autumn, right? So, and anything that is associated with movement or transportation. And then we think of the characteristics or quality that we might be experiencing when we're under chronic stress, which might be anxiety. So more than likely, if you are an anxious person or you do experience anxiety, you might have an excess of vata within your physiology or within your makeup of your being. Pitta dosha is opposite. It's composed of the elements of fire and water. So think more heat, acidity. You might experience acne. You might also experience hives. Full transparency, I would be considered a Pitta Vata dosha. And so because of that, even though I can be physically active, I do have a high endurance. Because of Pitta, I lean more towards the cooling and relaxing exercises of restorative and of yoga nidra. Now, I didn't know this information prior to starting my personal practice, but when I started to study more, it all just made complete sense.
Right. Makes sense. And so these types, these doshas, can be a guide to what kind of yoga you need to sort of balance your life out and address, and again, avoid some of the chronic diseases that we talked about earlier. You mentioned the word practice. So I just want to underscore, from my understanding, that yoga is not a one-time thing, right? So for people who juggle multiple roles, work, family, etc., how do you easily incorporate yoga into your everyday life in sort of a realistic way that you can continue so that it can become a practice?
Thank you for highlighting that it's a practice. I definitely appreciate that. I would definitely say, or I encourage students to actually start with an evening routine. The reason I say start with an evening routine is because it's a little bit more easier to implement, and you could carve out more time, as opposed to trying to start or pick something up in the morning. where most of us were getting ready ourselves, whether it's our families, and we're trying to get out the door, right? So evening routines are really beneficial because how we go to sleep is actually how we wake up. So if we could carve out even as little as 5 minutes of time before we go to sleep to practice that union or find our equanimity through journaling or svadhyaya, which is self-study, using prompts to question our thoughts and where they came from or what they're rooted in, or maybe do a physical asana yoga practice or a bit of breath work. All of these tools can be implemented into an evening routine to start to send the ball in the opposite direction, right? So going to sleep intentionally, and then we'll more than likely wake up with more of a clear conscience. And how many times have we all experienced going to sleep and we still wake up tired, right? And
I have.
why am I
Sure.
tired? I went to sleep. But it's because we did not take that time to unwind and undo the day before. And this is how certain cycles of chronic stress actually start to build. So just understand how we go to sleep is how we wake up, and making your evening routine sacred and a place for you to release everything, and even maybe not release, maybe go over some things that you're actually proud of that you accomplished. That could also get the ball rolling, right? And then I would say that after maybe you feel comfortable enough with that, your practice is going to naturally expand and grow. And you start to carry these emotions and these feelings into the next day and into the next day.
Right. And you mentioned you could start to do the yoga asanas. I just want to clarify everybody, you're talking about the poses.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Asanas,
All right.
poses,
Great.
also referred to as postures.
Postures. Yes, absolutely. It is time to bring Wayne and Lila back to let us know what's going on in the chat and to see if our audience has any questions, comments that they want to throw in, maybe about their own practice or their own experience with yoga. Hopefully everybody is typing away right now, or may already have had a question that occurred to them as we were moving through. So what y'all got? What's going on out there?
For starters, I love the term or the word equanimity. I never heard that word before in my life. That's an amazing word. So I had to Google it to get the full definition of it, Salena. That's an amazing word, but
we'll lay it on us. Share it with the group.
Let me read the definition. This is the definition: mental calmness, composure, evenness of temper, especially in a difficult situation. That's amazing. And honestly, the practice of yoga, listen, when you're doing some real tough yoga poses, you can't do nothing but focus on those poses. So all the other stuff goes out the door anyway. So for me, trying to get into a pose takes me out of myself anyway. I want to, Salena, just publicly acknowledge you for the work that you have done. You are such a rock star, and to see who you are today, compared to the young lady that I met so many years ago when I was first coming into my own yoga practice, I acknowledge you and I honor you for the work that you've done. I just had to say that publicly to you. So thank you for being here tonight. All right, some questions. Yes. So we talked about just taking like 5 minutes in the evening to sort of balance ourselves out. I hear a lot about chair yoga, or moments sitting at our desk. Is that a practice that is worth exploring?
Absolutely. Yes? Absolutely. Okay. Definitely worth exploring. I would say at some point, almost mandatory to implementing into your life. If you can practice 3 times a day, that would be ideal. Morning, afternoon, and evening. It just considered almost like a reset button, or just how as much as you charge your phone or your laptop, right? We've all got to do that periodically. Wow. Plug in or unplug. We need to be doing that for our minds and our bodies. So chair yoga is a really great exercise to implement. You could do anything from hip openers to twist to just literally sitting, closing the eyes, and getting into your pranayama or your breathwork practice. Yes, definitely worth looking into and implementing.
Okay. Wayne, still on me? Because you know I got him.
Well, I know you got plenty. I just want to say, take one from the audience, and Tracy Wall says it's a great topic for conversation. Let me see that. Great topic for conversation, and that they do it. She learned yoga at the VA, and they allow vets to do that. So I just want
Wow,
to shout out.
that's powerful.
Yeah,
Definitely
and
a population that can probably benefit as well.
hmm so my question is, have you done yoga with young people? Have you seen yoga affect families and school communities and individuals like that? How did that?
Absolutely. I have done yoga with young people to people that are aged. I've done yogas with my little ones as infants, even when they were in my bellies. And then I have also evolved to teaching students at schools as early as kindergarten. There is no age that is too young to practice self-awareness.
Wow.
And I just want to emphasize that because I feel like if we were able to bring these practices to every school and to every child, it would turn out for the better, for the world, for our communities. I have had experience with my organization teaching at over 20 schools. And one thing that stood out the most to me was I implemented a program where teachers were coming to school just 20 minutes earlier and to practice with me. And at the start of the program, it was a 10-week span, the teacher expressed to me that she was having issues with one particular student. Within the first 3 weeks, she pulls me to the side and she said, I just want to say thank you. I'm like, okay, you're feeling. She's like, no, my relationship with that student has transformed and changed.
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
Because we have the ability to slow down, pull back, recognize that those around us in our relationships, if we're lucky to see it as such, can actually be a reflection, right? So our communication and our compassion starts to expand. And other people feel that. Kids are
Yeah.
not. Sometimes people think that children are like, oh, oblivious or they don't know. They actually could feel it sometimes a little bit more than adults. Because with adults, our egos and our thoughts get in the way, and we could get to a point where we're like, oh, we know that, or I know how that goes, or I know how this person is. When all actuality, if we could see every day as new, if we could see every interaction, every chance that we get to communicate with each other as something new, then it will turn out for the better for everybody. But I've seen relationships transform and change. Absolutely.
Wow.
Salena, you said you work with a bunch of schools, and we've sort of already talked about how Christians have had this aversion to the practice of yoga. Have there been any religious institutions that have been progressive enough to? No, not yet. Okay.
No, and that's okay. I remember a church completely turned me down when I presented the idea. And I respect it. I think that more information needs to get out there as far as what it is, how it can support us spiritually. And just education, I think, is going to be key to opening doors. I did have a couple students actually in my Upward Bound, they're seniors, Cal State Long Beach course. And they actually came to me and they said, my parents said we have to unenroll in your course because of our religion. I happily spoke to the parents, explained to them. I even went as far as the extent of showing slides and what we're covering and what we're going over. And the parents actually ended up changing their mind and they let their children sit in the course.
Wow.
It's down to education. Right? Because we could get caught in the terms if we don't know what they mean or if we don't know Sanskrit. What does that mean? I'm not sure. But if we spread the word on terms, the meaning, and defining what everything means, I think that there will be less misconception.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, Salena, if someone has certain problems like sleeping issues or some other sort of chronic issues, Are there specific yoga practices for that, specifically sleeping? Because when we do have high stress, a lot of times it manifests itself with insomnia. Yeah.
Yes, it does. There are a couple things that we could do. One of the first thing that comes to mind is the practice of yoga nidra. Great practice. You could look that up and find it almost anywhere. Another practice that I could actually show you guys really quickly is a breathing, also known as pranayama practice, exercise that is referred to as left nostril breathing. And this is really great for insomnia, great to slow down the mind and the body, and will almost instantly prepare you to have a restful sleep. So really quick explanation. I love to educate on why it works.
I'm going to one shot here.
I don't.
Left nostril.
I want to make sure that the audience knows not to fall asleep as as this is probably going to be effective.
If you're driving, save this for later until you get home.
Right.
If you're ready
Don't
to
do
call it
this
a
while
night,
driving.
don't do this while driving. So really quickly, as explanation why it works, left nostril is connected to the right hemisphere of the brain, and the right nostril is actually connected to the left hemisphere of the brain. The full exercise is known as nadi shodhana, or alternate nostril breathing, but just for the sake, again, of addressing insomnia or feeling restless, we're going to breathe only through the left nostril. So the right side of the brain is associated with calming, relaxing. You'll notice that if you do feel a little bit restless or you experience congestion or allergies, if you are breathing in and out of the right nostril, you might feel a little bit more anxious. So we're going to do left nostril breathing, and we'll just see how it feels. So if you could just sit up really tall, if you're in a chair, bring both feet flat. That's important so that we've got an even flow of prana, or energy or breath, through the body. You're going to use your right hand, gently close off your right nostril. Take a breath in through your left nostril. Use your index finger, close your left nostril, exhale through your right. Close your right again, inhale through your left. So we're only breathing in through the left. Use your index finger, close your left, breathe out through the right. Close your eyes if you haven't already, and close your right again, inhale through the left. Just kind of notice how the body's actually feeling arms, legs. Close the left, exhale through the right. We're going to do this 3 more times. Inhale through the left. Close the left, exhale through the right. We're doing great. 2 more. Close the right, inhale through the left. Close the left, breathe out through the right. Beautiful. 1 more, guys. Inhale through the left. Close the left, breathe out through the right. Keep your eyes closed, rest your hand. Take a breath in. Breathe out through the mouth. And then slowly blink your eyes open.
Exactly.
Why?
You
Hello. Oh,
We're still
Mr.
on?
Producer.
We're still on?
Yeah.
Hey,
That was
guys.
amazing.
We are still on.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. That is okay.
We're glad that you got some Z's in.
Hold on. It's not you, it's me. Don't worry about it.
That is okay.
Well, no, that was wonderful. So everyone can try that. I mean, it's almost bedtime for some people. So everybody can try that where they're trying to wind down for bed this evening. So that's great.
Wow.
That's great. I think we have time for one more question, don't we?
Yeah. So what changes have you personally noticed in your body since starting yoga? I mean, what changes has it done for you?
I am much more calm, much more slow to speak. Physically, I feel stronger. I feel more comfortable in my body, and just more receptive and ready. And when stress does come up, because it happens, life fluctuates. I'm more aware than I feel like I ever would have been. So it shows up for me in my shoulders or migraines. For some people, it might show up in their low back or their hamstrings. Others, they might get an upset stomach. So for me, I'm more readily and available to recognize those signs, and then I can quickly address them.
That's wonderful. I want to just get in the last one because I was fascinated when you said you did yoga with your young ones even when they were in the womb. And,
Yes.
I always think about, the fact that Black women have higher rates of complications in pregnancy and higher rates of death. Is there anyone out there who are doing yoga classes specifically for women of color when they're pregnant?
I am aware of one yoga studio that is actually located in Inglewood. It's known as Black Being. There's also a couple of great online resources I think that would be beneficial. I myself love to support moms and those that are pregnant. So those are the three that come to the top of the mind. And I also just want to share that it's possible, like don't hesitate. It actually really supported me in each of my births with my children. I carried my twins full term, who are now getting ready to be 7 years old. My oldest daughter, who's 11, I carried her full term. And as a matter of fact, what's funny? When I got to the hospital while I was in labor, I was almost dilated to the point where I couldn't get the epidural. And the doctor asked me, "What are you doing? How are you so calm?" And I literally was just breathing. I did headstands, like literally upside down on my head while pregnant for my own practice at the time. So
not to be tried by everyone. Just want to mention that.
By everyone, but possible. And remember, there's so many different avenues.
Yeah.
And the practice helps me now as a mom. It does. It really does.
I'm
Yes.
sure.
Well, thank you so much. I want to just end on that. It's post Mother's Day. So ending with that question and that wonderful answer. And I just want to thank you so much for being here. This was wonderful. You just gave us so much insight and understanding of yoga, which is not one thing, it's many things, and it's a practice. So thank you so much, Salena. Always, thank you to my wonderful co-hosts, Lila and Wayne. Thank you, Be Health Empowered family. And until I see you again, remember, be wise, be well, and be health empowered.